The alarm buzzed at 6:30 a.m., a sharp and insistent sound that pulled me from the soft embrace of sleep. The sky outside my window was a dull gray, as if the world had forgotten to wake up, and the ground was dusted with a light coating of snow, barely enough to leave a mark. The stillness of the morning felt like a sign. It was one of those days where nothing felt quite right. I could sense it deep within me, a quiet unease that had been building for weeks. Stress had become a constant companion, the kind that sits heavy on your chest, robbing you of breath. My life, once full of energy and purpose, now felt distant. Everything seemed out of place. I dragged myself out of bed, pushing away the feeling that something was off. It was just nerves, I told myself. I had an important presentation at work, and I couldn't afford to be distracted by feelings I couldn't explain. So, I went through the motions. A quick shower, coffee that was more a necessity than a treat, a rushed breakfast that didn't even taste like food. I was already running behind, but that was nothing new. As I pulled my coat on, the tightness in my chest grew. It wasn't pain, exactly, but a subtle pressure, like an invisible weight pressing down. It felt like something was warning me, but what? I shook off the feeling, dismissing it as nothing more than the pre-presentation jitters. It had to be. The drive to work was uneventful at first. The streets were still quiet, the early morning fog clinging to the corners of the city. But as I approached the intersection of Main Street and Maple Avenue, the tension in the air thickened. The light turned green, and I moved forward. That's when I saw it, a red truck barreling toward me, speeding through the intersection. My heart stopped for a moment, suspended in time. There was no room for fear, no time to react. The truck slammed into the side of my car with such force that everything around me seemed to shatter. Metal crumpling, glass exploding into a million shards, the sound deafening. In an instant, everything went dark. My body jerked violently, but then nothing. It was as if the world had paused, and I was floating in a strange, empty silence. I couldn't feel anything. No pain, no fear, no sound. Just a profound, eerie stillness. And then I saw it. My own body, slumped over the steering wheel, blood dripping from my forehead. It should have scared me, but instead, an overwhelming sense of calm washed over me. There was no panic, no urgency. I wasn't scared. I wasn't even connected to my body. I was floating, detached. I saw the scene unfold around me with startling clarity. The man pulling out his phone, calling for help, the paramedics rushing toward my car, pulling me out and laying me on the cold pavement. Someone was performing CPR, yelling for me to breathe, but it felt so distant, like I was watching it all from a place far away. None of it felt real. Not anymore. Then I felt it, the pull. A force, soft and gentle, like an invisible hand guiding me upward. I didn't fight it. I couldn't. It was as if my very soul knew where it needed to go. As I drifted further away from my body, I understood that this was no dream. This wasn't a hallucination. It was real, more real than anything I had ever known. I was weightless, floating through a vast, empty space. There was no sky, no ground, just a golden glow that surrounded me, soft and comforting. My body, lying still below me, felt so far away, irrelevant. And there, in that strange, glowing void, I found peace. Peace like I had never known in my life. I wasn't afraid. There was no fear, no pain. Just peace. It was as if I had been transported to a place beyond the realm of human experience, a place that felt more alive than the earth I had just left behind. I wasn't attached to my body anymore. It was like watching a scene from someone else's life, a life I had left behind. And then, just as I began to accept this new, strange reality, I saw it. A light in the distance, glowing with an intensity one had never seen before. It wasn't just bright. It was alive, pulsing with warmth, love, and energy. As I moved toward it, I felt something stir deep inside me. Something I couldn't describe, but I knew it. It was love. Pure, unconditional love. The kind of love that envelopes you, that makes you feel like you're exactly where you're meant to be. As I approached the light, I began to hear it. Music, but not like anything I had ever heard on earth. It was harmonious, pure, and filled with a divine unity. The sound of thousands of voices singing together in perfect harmony. It was beautiful, so beautiful that I could feel the tears streaming down my face, even though I no longer had a face. In that moment, I knew I wasn't alone. I wasn't lost. I had arrived. And just as I reached the light, someone stepped forward to meet me. A figure emerged from the brightness, tall and radiating power. At first, I thought it was an angel, but as the figure drew closer, I realized who it was. It was him, Jesus Christ. If this story resonates with you, if you feel the pull of something deeper, something greater, I invite you to be a part of our community. Click that subscribe button and give a like to this video. And if you want a special shout out in the next video, leave a comment with your name and city. We'll send you a message just for you. This is your moment, your chance to be seen and heard. Let's keep this journey together, and I can't wait to share more of this experience with you. As soon as I touched his hand, everything around me dissolved. The world I had known, everything familiar, vanished. In its place, there was only light. Brilliant, pure light, swirling around me like a river of energy. It was not just light in the way we understand it on Earth. This light was alive. It pulsed with meaning, with purpose. It was the very essence of existence itself. I felt myself being drawn into this tunnel of light, but it wasn't a tunnel like any on Earth. It wasn't cold or dark. It didn't narrow or compress. It expanded, welcoming, enveloping me in its warmth. As I moved through it, I could feel the presence of others, beings of light surrounding me, their voices humming in a divine chorus. I couldn't see them clearly, but I felt them. And they were singing, not with their mouths, but with their souls, in perfect unity. The sound, if it could even be called sound, was so pure, so harmonious. It moved me in ways I couldn't comprehend. There was no fear here. There was no time. There was only the flow of light, the sound of these ethereal voices, and the sense that I was part of something much greater than myself. I didn't know what was happening, but I knew I had to surrender. There was no question. It was as if my soul was already aligned with this force, this divine energy. The deeper I moved into this light, the more connected I felt, the more my heart opened. There was no anxiety, no doubt, only the feeling of being held by something greater, something I had been searching for my whole life. It was like I was returning home. And then I saw it. The light began to change. The brilliant, all-encompassing glow shifted, taking shape. I wasn't alone anymore. A figure stepped forward, and everything inside me stilled. The being before me radiated power, but it wasn't overpowering. It wasn't a force of fear or domination. It was simply authority, divine authority. As this figure stepped closer, I could feel the love radiating from him. His presence was undeniable, powerful, yet gentle. It was as though I had known him for all eternity, even though I had never seen him before. He smiled, and I felt my entire being light up. Every fear, every regret, every painful memory, it all melted away. I felt whole, complete, as if I was being embraced by something that had always existed within me but had been dormant until now.
I didn't need to speak.
He knew what I was thinking. He knew everything. He reached out his hand, and when I took it, a rush of knowledge flooded into me. It wasn't words or thoughts. This knowledge was pure understanding. It was a knowing, a revelation. Everything I had ever questioned, every confusion, every doubt, suddenly, it all made sense. And then, just like that, everything around me shifted. The light was gone. The presence was still there, but the surroundings had changed. I was no longer in the tunnel. I was standing in a vast, open space. It was breathtaking. The sky stretched out before me, not like the sky I had known, but something far more vivid, more alive. The colors were like nothing I had ever seen before, deep, radiant, and infinite. And beneath me, the earth was so rich, so vibrant. I could feel the life beneath my feet, the pulse of creation itself. It was as if the entire universe was humming in perfect harmony. And there, standing in the center of it all, was Jesus. His presence filled the space. His light shone brighter than anything I could ever imagine. His smile was gentle, knowing, full of compassion. "Come," he said, his voice soft yet filled with divine authority. His eyes met mine, and I felt as though he could see straight into the depths of my soul. I followed him without question. We walked through this paradise, this divine creation. The air was thick with love, with peace. It wasn't a place of static beauty. It was alive, constantly shifting, constantly growing. As we walked, I could feel the pulse of life in the very air, in the ground beneath my feet. I could hear the hum of creation all around me. It was like everything was in perfect balance. Everything was in its rightful place. And then, just as I was beginning to absorb the magnitude of it all, Jesus stopped. He turned to face me, his eyes filled with a deep understanding. "There is something you need to know," he said, his voice deep, steady, but filled with urgency. A hidden truth that has been buried for centuries. His words hung in the air, and in that moment I knew this wasn't just a journey for me. This wasn't just about me. This was about something much larger, something that would affect the world. I had been brought here for a reason, and I knew that reason was beginning to unfold before me. As we walked together, the landscape around us continued to shift, becoming more vibrant with each step. The air was thick with a deep, almost tangible energy. It was as though the very essence of creation was alive in every molecule, every breath I took. With every movement, the land seemed to respond, as though it recognized the presence of something far beyond the human understanding of time and space. I didn't ask any questions. I didn't need to. I felt that every moment, every detail, was unfolding exactly as it should. Jesus led me deeper into this realm, his presence radiating a sense of peace that washed over me like a gentle tide. His eyes never left mine, and I could feel the weight of his gaze, the depth of his understanding. Then he stopped. He looked around, taking in the scenery, and I followed his gaze. The beauty of this place was overwhelming, but it wasn't the beauty that caught my attention now. There was something deeper, something beneath the surface that he was trying to show me. I could sense it in the air, the vibrations of something powerful, something sacred. And that's when he spoke again, his voice calm but firm. "There is a power here," he said. "A power that has been hidden for centuries, a power that was meant to shape the world." The words hung in the air, vibrating with an energy I couldn't fully comprehend. It wasn't just the power of creation, of life, that he was referring to. It was something else, something ancient, something profound. Jesus motioned toward a distant horizon, where I could see groups of people gathered in circles, their heads bowed in reverence. They were unlike any people I had ever seen before, strong, grounded, yet filled with a quiet strength that seemed to emanate from them. I could feel the energy radiating from them, from their unity, from their connection to something greater. "They were chosen," he said softly. "They were given a gift, one that could lead all of humanity into a higher state of being. But this gift was buried. It was suppressed, hidden from the world for reasons that even I cannot explain." I felt a surge of emotion at his words, something deep and inexplicable stirring within me. It wasn't just about them, it was about all of us. There was a sense of lost potential, a sense of something so powerful that it had been buried by forces beyond comprehension. I wanted to understand more. I needed to understand more. Jesus led me closer to the group of people, and as I approached, I could see them more clearly. They were not just sitting in prayer, they were channeling something. Their voices, low and melodic, were in perfect harmony. The very air around them seemed to vibrate with their energy. There was no fear here, no doubt. Only certainty, only faith. "These are the keepers of the power," Jesus said, his voice filled with a quiet reverence. "This power runs deep. It is ancient. It is part of the earth itself." I could feel the energy in the ground beneath my feet, pulsing like a heartbeat, steady and unwavering. It was as if the earth itself was alive, connected to these people in a way that was both spiritual and elemental. They were not just praying. They were drawing upon something greater, something that had been passed down through generations, something that had been hidden for far too long. Suddenly, the vision shifted. I saw another scene unfold before me, a scene that left me breathless. I was no longer in this vibrant, alive world. Instead, I was witnessing the past, visions of a time long gone, yet so vivid and real it felt as though I was living it. I saw ancient tribes, men and women standing together, their hands raised toward the heavens. Their bodies were strong, their faces marked by the weight of history, but their eyes burned with a fire that was undeniable. They weren't just praying, they were calling upon the divine, summoning the power that had been entrusted to them. Jesus stood beside me, his gaze intense. The black people of this world were given this gift, he said, a strength deeper than any human understanding, a connection to the earth and the spirit in a way that few others have ever known. I could see it now, the power that had been bestowed upon them. The energy they radiated was undeniable. It was as if they were one with the earth, one with the divine. And in that moment, I understood. This power wasn't just physical. It was spiritual. It was the essence of creation itself, flowing through them, through their very being. But this gift was stolen, Jesus said, his voice heavy with sadness. It was buried, hidden from the world by forces that feared its power. They tried to erase it, but they couldn't. It's still here. It's still within them. As his words echoed in my mind, the vision shifted once again. I saw images of the transatlantic slave trade, ships crossing the ocean, men and women chained, families torn apart. The pain was unbearable, but even in the suffering, I could see the light. It didn't fade. It endured. Jesus stood beside me, his expression sorrowful. They tried to bury it, he said softly, but it never disappeared. It was passed down, hidden, but always present. And then I saw the future. I saw Black communities rising, reclaiming their spiritual identity. I saw healers, prophets, spiritual leaders guiding the world toward a new era. Their power was awakening once again. It's time, Jesus said, his voice filled with quiet urgency. It's time for them to rise. The world is ready to hear their message. I could feel the energy building, the weight of the moment pressing against me as I stood there with Jesus. His words reverberated in my mind, and it was clear that this was not just a revelation for me. It was a call for the world. The truth he had shared, the strength that had been buried for so long, was ready to rise again. And I, standing there, was part of something much greater than I had ever imagined. As Jesus led me through this divine landscape, he continued to speak of the power that had been stolen, the strength that had been suppressed. His voice was filled with both sorrow and hope. He spoke of the generations that had been lost, the beauty of a power that had been hidden away, and how it was now stirring again, like the first light of dawn breaking through the darkest night. I could feel the pulse of that power beneath the earth, in the very air around me. It was alive, ready to awaken. And with every step, it grew stronger. Do you see? Jesus asked, his voice filled with a deep, knowing calm. This is not just about the past. This is about the future. This power is not meant to stay hidden any longer. It is time for the world to know. The truth was unfolding before me in ways I could hardly understand, but the weight of it was undeniable. The people, the communities, the strength that had been buried, they were rising. I could feel it in my soul. It was not just an awakening, it was a revolution, a divine shift in the way the world would see and feel this power. Jesus stopped and turned to me. His eyes were intense, yet full of compassion. They are waking up, he said softly, and the world will change because of it. I saw visions flash before my eyes, young men and women stepping into their spiritual authority, leading with a strength that wasn't their own, guiding the world with wisdom, love, and truth. I saw communities coming together, united in prayer, in purpose, in faith. They were healing, not just physically but spiritually. Chains were being broken, and hearts were being set free. But Jesus said, his tone shifting slightly, "This awakening will not come without resistance. There are forces that will try to stop it. They will try to turn them against one another, to sow division where there should be unity. But if they stand together, nothing will be able to stop them." As he spoke, I could feel the weight of his words settle in my heart. It was true, there would be resistance. There always is when something powerful, something divine, begins to rise. But I also felt a surge of strength, a deep knowing that nothing could truly stand in the way of what was coming. Jesus took my hand once more. "The time has come," he said. "The power that was buried is rising again, and it will change the world." If this story is resonating with you, if you can feel the energy and the power of this awakening, we invite you to be a part of this journey. Join our community. Like this video and leave a comment letting us know which city you're watching from and your name. We'd love to send you a special message in our next video. You might even hear your name called out to thousands of people. Imagine how powerful that would be. This is your moment. Together, let's continue to uncover the truth and embrace this incredible journey. The energy was palpable now, a surge that ran through the air, the ground, and even the very essence of my being. I could feel it vibrating deep inside, as though my soul was being reawakened, synchronized with the pulse of the universe itself. It was as if the walls that had once separated me from my true self had vanished, leaving only the truth and power that had always been inside me, waiting, dormant, until this moment. Jesus walked beside me, his presence a beacon of light in this vast, otherworldly realm. The world around us seemed to hum with a life of its own, every element in perfect harmony. The air was filled with a vibrant energy, and the very ground we walked on seemed to respond to every step we took. He stopped, his eyes turning toward me. "Do you feel it?" he asked, his voice gentle, but filled with a deep knowing. This is the power that was always meant to be theirs. This is the power that has been hidden, suppressed, but never gone. I nodded, unable to speak, but feeling the truth of his words deep within my soul. It was a power not just of the mind or the body. It was a spiritual power, an ancient energy that connected all things, that flowed through every living being. And it had been hidden, not just from the world, but from those who were meant to carry it, those who were destined to awaken it. The vision before me shifted, and I saw a landscape unlike anything I had ever known. It was lush, vibrant, and full of life. I saw communities coming together, people united by a common purpose, their hearts and minds connected by something far greater than themselves. Their prayers were not just words, they were a call to the divine, a call that reverberated through the fabric of creation. Jesus spoke again, his voice now filled with both sadness and hope. For centuries, this power has been buried, forgotten by those who were meant to carry it. But now, the time has come for it to rise again. This is their inheritance, the spiritual strength that runs deeper than any human understanding. And it is time for them to reclaim it. I saw the faces of those who had been oppressed, those whose ancestors had carried this power, but had been forced to forget. But as the vision continued, I saw them waking up. I saw them reconnecting with their roots, with the strength that had always been within them. It wasn't just a physical awakening, it was a spiritual one. A resurgence of power, of wisdom, of connection to something greater than themselves. But there will be challenges, Jesus said, his voice soft but firm. The forces that have tried to suppress this power will not give up easily. They will try to divide, to create fear, to keep them from realizing their true strength. But they cannot stop what is already in motion. As I stood there, watching these visions unfold before me, I felt something stir within me. It wasn't just a sense of awe, it was a call to action. I knew that this wasn't just about watching from the sidelines. This was about stepping into the story, stepping into the power that was being reclaimed. It was about joining in the awakening, supporting it, and helping to spread the truth. The vision shifted again, and I saw a new generation rising. I saw young men and women stepping into their roles as leaders, spiritual leaders, healers, and guides. Their presence was magnetic, filled with a wisdom and authority that came not from the world, but from the divine. Their voices were strong, their prayers were powerful, and their hearts were open to the divine call. Jesus smiled, his eyes full of encouragement. "They are awakening," he said, "and the world will be changed because of it." But as his words echoed in my mind, I also felt the weight of his warning. "The enemy will not be silent," he said. "There will be resistance. There will be challenges. But if they remain united, nothing can stop them." The visions continued to unfold before me, each one more powerful than the last. As I moved deeper into this divine space, I felt something inside me shift, as if the very core of my being was being realigned. What I was witnessing was not just the story of a people, it was the story of a spiritual revolution, a movement of awakening that was sweeping across the world, calling those who had been forgotten, those who had been oppressed, to rise up and reclaim their rightful place. Jesus stood beside me, his presence steady and strong. His eyes were filled with a deep understanding, as if he had seen all that had come before and all that was to come. "The time has come," he said, his voice steady, yet filled with a quiet urgency. "This is the moment when everything will change. The power that was buried is awakening, and those who were once broken will rise stronger than ever." I could feel the energy of the moment coursing through me. It was like a surge of electricity, a force greater than anything I had ever experienced. It was as if the very ground beneath my feet was alive, pulsing with the power of this divine awakening. This wasn't just a call to action. It was the beginning of a transformation that would sweep through the world, a new era of spiritual strength and unity. Jesus turned to me, his eyes locking onto mine. "The enemy will try to stop them," he said, his voice soft but firm. "They will use every tool at their disposal to keep this power from rising. But they cannot stop what has already begun." As he spoke, I saw it, the enemy's efforts to divide, to create fear and confusion, to keep the people from realizing their true strength. But as I watched, I saw the people rising up, refusing to be held down any longer. I saw them standing together, united in their faith, in their purpose. The power they had once lost was returning, stronger than ever. And with that strength, they began to lead. Not just with their voices, but with their hearts, their spirits, their very being. They were becoming leaders, not in the traditional sense, but as spiritual guides, healers, and visionaries. They were stepping into their roles as servants of the divine, carrying the message of love, healing, and unity to the world. I could feel the energy of their awakening spreading, rippling out from them to others, touching hearts and souls across the world. The truth was undeniable, the power was undeniable, and the world was changing before my very eyes. But Jesus' voice cut through the visions, soft but firm. "They will face resistance," he warned. "There will be those who try to stop them, to tear them apart. But if they stand together, united in love and purpose, nothing can break them." I stood in awe, witnessing the strength and unity that was unfolding. This was not just a spiritual awakening, it was a revolution of the soul, a movement of divine power that was sweeping across the world. And I knew, deep within me, that this was only the beginning. If you're feeling inspired by this journey, if your heart is moved by the power of this awakening, I invite you to join our community. We create these videos because we genuinely believe in the message, and we do it out of passion, not for profit. Your like and subscription mean the world to us. They help keep this message alive and allow us to continue sharing these powerful stories with you. So please, if you feel moved, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Your support would truly mean a lot to us, and together, we can continue spreading this message far and wide. Thank you for being a part of this journey. The visions that had once been so distant, so ungraspable, now felt like a living, breathing reality. I stood there with Jesus, witnessing the culmination of everything that had been set in motion. The power that had once been buried, hidden from the world, was no longer confined to the past. It was alive now, moving through the hearts of millions, filling the world with a strength and energy that could not be denied. Jesus looked at me, his eyes filled with compassion and authority. "This is the moment," he said softly. "The moment when everything that has been hidden will be revealed. The chains that have bound the people will fall away. The strength that has been suppressed will rise again, and the world will be transformed." I could feel the power of his words resonating within me, and I knew that what I was witnessing was more than just a spiritual awakening. It was the beginning of a new era, an era of truth, of love, of unity. The old ways were fading, giving way to something new, something divine. As I watched, the people began to rise up. I saw them stepping into their rightful place as leaders, spiritual leaders, healers, and guides. Their voices, once silenced, were now being heard, and their message was spreading like wildfire. The power of their faith, the strength of their unity, was undeniable. And I knew that this was only the beginning. The enemy, though, was still trying to hold on. The forces that had sought to suppress this power for so long were not giving up easily. But as I looked around, I saw that the people were not afraid. They were standing strong, united in their purpose, and nothing could stand in their way. The world had changed, and there was no going back. Jesus turned to me one last time, his eyes filled with hope and encouragement. "Tell them," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "Tell them that the time has come for them to rise. Tell them that their strength is greater than they know. And tell them to stand together, united in love and faith. For when they do, there is nothing that can break them." With those words, I felt a deep sense of peace settle over me. The journey that had begun with uncertainty, with fear, had now reached its conclusion. But this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one where the people would rise, stronger than ever, and lead the world into a new era of spiritual awakening. The journey doesn't end here. If you've been moved by this story, if your heart feels stirred by the power of this revelation, I invite you to continue watching. The next video will be just as revealing and life-changing. All you have to do is click the video that's appearing on your screen now. Don't forget to like this video and comment "Amen" to continue receiving blessings. Your support means so much to us, and your words help spread this message of hope and transformation. Let's keep this journey going together. May you continue to be blessed in every step you take.